It's hard not to feel for Shedeur Sanders. Thrown into the fire with an injured offensive line, no coherent protection, and no lifelines built into the offense, he looked like a rookie left out to dry. But if you look past the stat sheet and instead watch every snap like Kurt Warner did, you'll see a young quarterback refusing to fold. Despite relentless pressure, Sanders kept throwing. He stood in collapsing pockets, delivered with touchdown field, and tried to spark something from nothing. It wasn't desperation, it was grit. Talent under duress tells more than numbers ever could.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Folder not found. Create new folder. Kurt Warner. Warner's breakdown made it clear. Sanders was failed by the system, not by his own ability. Jacob Roach reinforced this, highlighting how the Browns gave him virtually no chance to succeed. Still, he showcased rare arm strength, fearless decision-making, and NFL-caliber ball placement. Even in a game stacked against him, the stats don't reflect it, but the tape shows a quarterback making big-time plays while everything around him fell apart. This wasn't a loss. It was an audition under extreme conditions. And if anyone's watching the film, they know this wasn't about what Sanders couldn't do. It was about what he did anyway. Kurt Warner watched the tape. He didn't look at the stat line. He didn't react to the social media noise. He went straight to the film, and what he saw in Shedeur Sanders' performance against the Ravens was not a meltdown, but a message. Because the truth is, for completions on 16 attempts is a brutal number. There's no sugarcoating that. It looks bad. It reads like a quarterback who was overwhelmed, unprepared, and outmatched. But Warner's breakdown made one thing clear. The number didn't tell the full story. In fact, it told the wrong one. What Warner exposed was something that happens more often than people think. A rookie quarterback being sent into a game completely unsupported by the people paid to prepare him. No hot routes. No pass protection adjustments. No quick reads built into the system. Just broken offensive structure from the start. And Sanders was left to figure out on his own. That's not development. That's negligence. Warner, a Hall of Fame quarterback and Super Bowl champion, knows what high-level quarterbacking looks like. He also knows how quickly a young player can be undermined by poor coaching and flawed design. So when he says that Shedeur Sanders made NFL-level throws in that game, you pay attention, because those kinds of statements don't get thrown around casually. Despite the chaos, Warner pointed to specific throws, vertical shots, passes with touch, well-timed releases under pressure, and highlighted them as examples of a quarterback who has it. Not maybe, not potential. Actual, on-film talent that was visible even while the rest of the offense was falling apart around him. This is where context matters, and where the coaching staff failed him completely. Let's talk about what was missing. Hot routes. If you watched enough football, you know that when a defense sends extra rushers, there has to be a built-in safety valve, a route that adjusts in real time to give the quarterback a quick option. The Browns didn't have that. Not once in that game did Sanders have an outlet to beat the blitz. Warner made that crystal clear. Then there's the protection. Both starting tackles went down early. The line was a mess. The coaching staff didn't adjust the protection schemes. No max protect. No moving the pocket. Just the same broken structure, asking a rookie quarterback to read a collapsing field with defenders flying at him from both sides. And yet, Sanders still delivered some of the most impressive throws of the game. He wasn't out there panicking. He wasn't checking down every snap. He wasn't trying to survive. He was trying to compete. He kept his eyes downfield, scanned for options, and attacked vertically whenever he had a window. That kind of mindset under pressure isn't typical for a rookie, especially one thrown into that kind of environment without a full week of preparation. Jacob Roach from Barking Browns echoed this exact point. He called out the failures in support and play calling. He also acknowledged the flaws. Yes, there were moments where Sanders held the ball too long. Yes, he was indecisive at times. But when you're playing behind a broken offensive line with 0 hot reads and a disjointed game plan, that's not a red flag. That's what anyone would look like. The key difference is that Sanders still found a way to show his traits. NFL caliber traits. The deep shots, the arm strength, the willingness to stay in the pocket and deliver under pressure. That's what stood out on film. Not the completion percentage, not the 3-and-outs. The film showed a quarterback try and make something out of nothing, and, in moments, succeeding. That's what the stat line, and that's why this Raiders game means so much. It's not just another outing. It's not just a bounce-back opportunity. It's the first real test of whether the coaching staff is going to take accountability. Because now they know what went wrong. Warner laid it all out. Roach added to it. Everyone who watched that tape saw the same thing. Shedeur Sanders was left hanging by a coaching staff that had no contingency plan. Now they have time. Sanders is getting a full week of reps. He's preparing as the starter. The offensive staff has had days to watch the Ravens film, absorb the criticism, and build a game plan designed for Sanders. This is the moment where the organization either learns or repeats its mistakes. There's no excuse for putting him in that kind of situation again. No excuse for going into this Raiders game without hot routes. No excuse for sticking with a protection scheme that doesn't adjust when the pocket breaks down. If it happens again, it's not a lesson. It's malpractice. The talent is there. Warner proved it. Roach confirmed it. The film doesn't lie. The system failed, not the quarterback. And if the Browns build a plan around Sanders' strengths, his arm, his downfield aggression, his calm under pressure, this game could look entirely different. The Raiders' defense isn't the Ravens. They're not going to bring the same chaos. And if the Browns finally put him in a position to succeed, you might see what Warner saw. A real quarterback, not a project. Not a temporary fill-in. A player with the tools to win in the NFL. That's what this game is really about. It's not redemption for Sanders. It's confirmation. It's about proving what the film already told us, that he can play if the team does its job. This game is also a chance for the public perception to catch up to reality, because it's so easy to write someone off after one bad stat line. But this isn't just a rookie struggling. It's a rookie fighting through a total lack of support and still managing to flash legitimate upside. That kind of mental toughness, that kind of focus under pressure, you can't coach that. You can only hope to not ruin it by putting the player in a situation that tears it down. The Browns have a choice now. Build around Sanders. Give him the structure. Give him the game plan. Give him the system he was denied last week. Because if they do and he delivers, then Warner's breakdown becomes something bigger. It becomes the early chapter in a quarterback story that didn't end with a rough debut. It started with it. So yeah, the numbers were ugly. But the film showed growth. The film showed arm talent. The film showed confidence. And now, the game plan has to catch up. If you saw the same thing Warner did, drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the Browns will actually tailor this week's offense to Shedeur's strengths? Or are we looking at another wasted opportunity? Hit that like if you're done judging quarterbacks by box scores, and share this with someone who's already written Sanders off. And if you want more breakdowns that go deeper than the headlines, subscribe. We're not here for the clickbait. We're here for the truth on tape, because that's what really tells the story. What Kurt Warner did with that film review wasn't just analysis. It was a rescue mission. He dragged Shedeur Sanders' reputation out from under the weight of one of the worst-looking stat lines a rookie quarterback can post and said, "Wait, look again." And that's exactly what needs to happen here. Look again. Because 16 doesn't tell you about the absence of hot routes. It doesn't tell you the offensive tackles were out. It doesn't show you the busted protections, the chaotic play design, or the fact that Shedeur Sanders was working behind a game plan that felt like it had been stapled together 20 minutes before kickoff. It just tells you he missed 12 passes. That's it. No nuance, no story. But the film? That told everything. Warner didn't just highlight a few good throws to balance out a bad game. He broke down how under pressure, with no quick options, no time, and limited prep, Sanders still made throws that would get any NFL coach's attention. The vertical passes, the tight window strikes, the touch passes into zones that most rookies wouldn't even look at. He stayed poised. He didn't look rattled. That's what impressed Warner more than anything. The mentality. Sanders didn't turtle up. He didn't shy away from tough throws. He didn't just try to avoid mistakes. He tried to make plays. And again, That's without support. It's why Warner and Jacob Roach both focus their attention on the coaching, not just the quarterback play. It wasn't Sanders who put himself into bad situations. It was a coaching staff that didn't adjust when both tackles went down. It was a game plan that didn't evolve. And it was a system that offered him no outlet, no rhythm, and no real-time solutions when the defense brought pressure. That's where most rookie quarterbacks get destroyed, not by the defense, but by their own sideline. But Shedeur, he stood in it, took hits, kept trying to push the ball down the field. Roach pointed to that same trait, aggressiveness, and not reckless, wild aggression. Targeted, confident throws into vertical spaces. That's not just raw talent. That's vision and timing. That's what evaluators look for when deciding who's worth, and that's what this upcoming game against the Raiders is really about. Not redemption, not revenge, just clarity. It's a chance for everyone, from coaches to fans to front office execs, to see what Sanders can do in a setting that isn't sabotaging him from the jump. And for the coaching staff, it's a chance to show that they're actually paying attention, that they watch the film too, that they're going to fix what clearly went wrong. Because if they don't, if the Raiders game looks like a rear end of the Ravens debacle, then the message is loud and clear. The Browns are not building around their quarterback. They're breaking him down before he has a chance to grow. And let's be honest, the Browns haven't exactly been known for quarterback development. But with Sanders, there's still time to get this right. The film shows there's a real player here, not a placeholder, not a gimmick. A quarterback with tools, arm strength, vision, toughness that can translate. It just can't happen in a vacuum. He needs a game plan that acknowledges where he's strong. That gets him in rhythm early. That doesn't force him to make second-and-long miracle throws because the offensive structure is failing. Give him quick reads. Let him operate with tempo. Move the pocket. Adjust the protections. And if they do that, if they finally coach with him instead of against him, then we're going to see something very different than 4-16. Because what Warner exposed wasn't just potential. It was a misuse of potential. It was a warning. Don't judge a quarterback by bad stats when the environment was even worse. We've seen it happen too many times. Young quarterbacks thrown into the fire with no help, and then labeled not ready when they couldn't survive a 3-alarm coaching failure. And fans, understandably, fall for it, because stats are easy. They're clean, they're simple, and they're often deceiving. That's why the film matters. The film doesn't lie. The film doesn't care about narratives. The film doesn't care what people said on Twitter. It just shows you what happened and what could happen with better support. And that's where the Browns are now, standing at a crossroads. On one side, there's the lazy route. Throw Sanders back into the same system, the same structure, and hope for different results. And when it doesn't work, just write him off as another rookie who couldn't hack it. On the other side, change, adjustments, accountability, building something around him instead of dropping him in the middle of dysfunction. The Raiders game isn't about proving Warner right. It's about proving Sanders has a path forward. It's about seeing whether the Browns can give him something he's yet to have at the NFL level, a fair chance. He doesn't need perfection, just a fighting shot. Because the Ravens game proved one thing. If Sanders can hang in and make legit throws under those conditions, then with even some protection and a reasonable game plan, the ceiling gets a lot higher. This season may not have gone the way the Browns hoped, but that doesn't mean it has to be wasted. If Sanders can start showing consistent flashes, real, evaluable growth, then you come out of this year with more than just disappointment. You come out with hope, and that starts now. The coaching staff has the evidence. The critics have backed off. The support is growing. Now it's time to build something out of it. Because if this week comes and goes and the same mistakes repeat themselves, no hot reads, no pass protection changes, no effort to ease pressure, then the story changes. It's no longer about potential. It's about negligence. That's the line in the sand this week draws. If you've been following closely, you already know this isn't about one game. It's about the trajectory of a young player who has what it takes, if he's not failed by the people around him. So if the Browns want to finally get out of their own way, this is how they start. Build a plan. Protect the quarterback. Let the talent breathe. Give Sanders the support he didn't get last week. and let the film speak for itself again. If you watched Warner's breakdown and came away thinking, wow, he's got it, you weren't alone. If you saw Roach's take and thought, that explains everything, you're right there with a lot of us. But none of that means anything if the team doesn't respond. So here we are. Shedeur Sanders is heading into what could quietly be one of the most important games of his young career. Not because the playoffs are on the line, not because the Browns are contending for anything big this season, but because this is where the story can either correct itself or spiral. And all eyes are on the coaching staff. Because after the Ravens game, the excuses are gone. Everyone saw the film. Everyone saw what Kurt Warner saw. Everyone saw what Jacob Roach called out. This wasn't about a quarterback who couldn't play. It was about a quarterback who wasn't given anything to work with. And if they make the same mistakes again, if they roll out the same broken offense, with no hot reads, no adjustments to protection, and no game plan designed around Sanders' actual strengths, then they're not coaching, they're quitting, because there's no debate anymore. Warner's breakdown settled it. The tape showed Sanders wasn't lost. He wasn't overwhelmed by the moment. He was actually doing what coaches beg rookies to do, staying composed, reading the field, and trying to push the ball downfield even while getting hit, hurried, and left with zero help. How many rookie quarterbacks would have checked down into the dirt all game just survive? Sanders didn't. He tried to make plays. He tried to win. And even though it didn't work on the stat sheet, it showed up on film, loud and clear. That's the part that matters most now, whether the team recognizes that the film told the truth, not the box score. The truth that Shedeur Sanders has NFL-caliber talent, that he throws with touch, he is afraid to go vertical, and he's got the mental toughness to keep attacking even when everything around him is crumbling. It's rare to see that kind of mindset from a rookie quarterback, especially one thrust into action behind a broken line, in a game he wasn't prepped to start, with no rhythm and no help. So now the Browns have a chance to show they're paying attention, to take that film and say, okay, we got it wrong. Let's fix it. And it doesn't even take a dramatic overhaul. Just basic competency. Start with pass protection. Don't let him get crushed like he did against Baltimore. You already know both starting tackles went down. Plan for that. Max protect. Move the pocket. Run more quick hitters. Stop asking a rookie quarterback to sit behind a patchwork line and read full field progressions with no emergency exits. Then fix the route concepts. Give him options when the blitz comes. Install real hot routes. Build in check downs that aren't just afterthoughts. Get him answers, not obstacles. And maybe, just maybe, tailor the offense to what Shedeur actually does well. Because we've seen it. The arm talent is real. He throws a beautiful deep ball. He's aggressive without being reckless. He doesn't panic. He plays with poise. That's a foundation you can build on, if you're willing to. The frustrating part is how easily this could have been avoided. If the staff had just acknowledged what they had in Sanders from the start, they wouldn't have left him out there in Baltimore with no plan. If they'd studied his game at Colorado, they would have known he thrives in structure, not conservative structure, but one that gives him timing, options, and rhythm. He doesn't need training wheels. He needs a functioning bike. But what he got instead was a system that collapsed on impact. And now the question is, what are they going to do about it? Because if this week looks like a copy and paste job from last week, then that says everything. It says the team isn't invested in Shedeur's success. It says they're more interested in surviving the season than developing a real quarterback. And that's a huge mistake. Because again, this isn't about salvaging a playoff run. This is about the long-term picture. The Browns have been searching for a quarterback they can believe in for years. And here's a guy who, even under brutal circumstances, flashed enough that two respected analysts stepped up and said, there's something here. That doesn't happen after for 16 games unless the tape forces the issue. So now the tape has done its job. The alarm's been sounded. It's up to the Browns to answer it. And here's the thing. If they do, and Sanders goes out against the Raiders and plays well, the narrative flips fast. The same fans and media who are writing him off will suddenly be talking about his poise, his upside, his arm strength. That's how quick it turns. But that window doesn't stay open forever. If you leave a young quarterback unsupported long enough, The habits change. The confidence erodes. The aggression turns into hesitation. The vision starts to narrow. That's how talent gets wasted. And that's why this game matters. It's not about lighting up the scoreboard. It's about building trust between player and team. Giving Sanders proof that the coaches have his back. That they're going to adjust when things fall apart. That they're willing to coach him, not just throw him into the fire. Because that's how development actually works. No quarterback succeeds in isolation. They need structure, support, and right now, Sanders hasn't gotten any of that. But the flashes have still come through. And if you can see the flashes through the smoke, imagine what happens when the fire gets put out. This game isn't just about Shedeur showing growth. It's about the organization showing growth. Warner laid out the problems. Roach backed it up. Fans saw it. Analysts saw it. Now the Browns need to show they saw it too. And if they do, then Sanders finally gets a real shot. Not to bounce back, but to show what he really is. The potential is already there. The tape doesn't lie. And all it takes now is a team willing to do their part. Because 16 will get forgotten if this week looks like the quarterback Warner believes he is. Shedeur. If you've been following this story, you know what's at stake. You know what the film revealed. And you know the difference between failure and failure by design. So let's talk. Drop a comment. Do you think the coaching staff will finally step up this week and give Sanders the support he needs? Or are we about to watch the same mess again? Like this video if you're rooting for a rookie to succeed against the odds. Share it with someone who thinks stats tell the whole story. And make sure you're subscribed. Because if the Browns finally do the right thing, you're going to want to be here when the narrative flips. We saw the truth last week. Let's see the response this one.